Lights, camera, action. The new Willow show on Disney Plus has proved to be a young adult fantasy adventure series that packs all the punches of the original film and what made it fun in the first place. If you go back to the original film when it came out, I was in my single digits as a child, and there were elements of that film that resonated so much with me. We had a young protagonist in the form of Willow Ufgood, who at the time of filming, I believe, was only 17 years old, so he was just a teenager. And he was joined by a cast of adults who helped him on his journey. We had Mad Mardigan, who was a late 20s, early 30s adventure warrior. We had his friend Eric. We had Sorsha going up against the evil queen Bavmorda. And we just had a general cast of characters helping this young adventurer through his journey of becoming a sorcerer. And it was an adventure film that captivated the audiences around the world, captured the minds of young children and young adults around the world. And it was very much a family friendly young adult adventure. The new show is exactly that. It is a cast of younger characters being shepherded into their roles as the next generation of adventurers and warriors by the old guard, by Willow himself and Sorsha, who is now the elderly queen. And rumors of the Mad Mardigan character that has been off doing quests, but we don't know exactly what has happened to him yet because we haven't been told um, quite what's going on there, which is fine. I think it's going to be fun to watch this unfold. I think for me, one of the reasons I'm enjoying Willow so much is because it captures all of the things that I loved so much when I saw that movie as a kid and takes me back to being a kid again. It's not meant to be some deep commentary, Oscar winning, Emmy winning thing. It's meant to be a lighthearted, fun adventure series, and it does exactly that. We have cheesy dialogue that was fun to watch. It's a little cliched, it's a little easy to predict, but that's fine because the show wasn't made for adults who have the wisdom of the world behind them. It was made for children. It was made for young adults. It was made for kids to sink their teeth into, just like the first film was. Go back and watch the first film if you haven't done it in years. The dialogue is horrifically cheesy in that first film. It's really bad. Like I just did a watch party like 2 weeks ago, and as much as I love that movie because of the nostalgia it has, the dialogue is not that great. There's some really cheesy stuff in there, but it's fun, and that's the most important part. It's a fun movie with a little bit of darkness to it, and we've seen that portrayed in the first two episodes of the season premiere that aired on Wednesday. I think for me, I really loved the sibling relationship that Prince Eric and Princess Kit have. Um, Obviously, Kit is a little tropey, she's a little cliched. She's the, tomboy princess who doesn't want to be a princess, doesn't want to wear the dresses. She wants to be a warrior queen, just like her mom was. And she wants to, go do sword fights. She doesn't want to have to do the protocol. She doesn't want to get married for the kingdom. She wants to go be this adventurer, and that's great. And then we have Prince Eric, who's named after Mad Mardigan's friend, and he is uh, the youngest and greatest swordsman, or second best swordsman, that anyone's known because he has his father's skill and he's been trained since birth to be this badass swordsman. Um, I appreciate all of that. I also love the fact that we have Willow, who has matured into the sorcerer, who's also sort of quirky and still relies somewhat on tricks, just like he used to. Because even though he did eventually learn some magic, he's also at his core, if you go back to, the pig trick from the original film, and also, looking at the Great Alwyn, the Grand Aldwyn from the first film, his magic wasn't flawless, The bones tell me nothing. And tell me, Widow of Good, do you have any love for this child? And then he says yes, and he's like, the bones have spoken. And then when he throws the bird up into there, follow the bird. And Burgle Cut's like, That's flying back to the village. And he's like, don't follow the bird, follow the river. Like, even the Grand Alwyn was not a flawless sorcerer. He had flaws, and he was quirky, and he was funny, and we see that with Willow Ufgood. He has become the de facto leader of his little Nelwyn village, but he's not flawless, and he is not the greatest sorcerer who has ever lived, but he is the last remaining sorcerer alive, and he's stored the wand away for future use. And they hid Laura Dannon away so that she could avoid this additional prophecy that came into play, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember the book trilogy that Chris Claremont did with George Lucas, but I remember it going a different way. So I think they've skipped past that, or they've chosen to ignore it, and that was just like an alternate extended universe thing, and they're kind of establishing their own version of canon here. But I can't remember that book series at all, so I really don't remember what happened there. But we did get this reveal that something bad's going to happen, and Willow keeps having this vision of the future where Laura Dannon's dead, and that he thinks that the only way to save the world is that she's going to have to sacrifice herself for everything. And so we're getting a little bit of that same darkness that was there in the first film, but it's balanced out with lots of fun, quirky, cheesy dialogue that's meant for the younger audiences. I've seen a handful of people, thankfully not a lot, but I have seen a handful of the vocal minority who are making ridiculous claims about how, oh, this show is so bad because it's so predictable and it's this agenda and that agenda. Ignore those people, ladies and gentlemen, because at the core, this is a fun show that's all about lighthearted adventure. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not meant to be groundbreaking, Game of Thrones fantasy. It's just meant to be one of those things where you can sit down with your kids and bowl of popcorn and just be entertained for 45 minutes. And that's what this was. Highly entertaining, especially for the younger audiences. I've not seen a single kid or heard of a single kid who has watched this who has come away and said, "Oh, this was bad writing and bad this and bad that, bad the other." No, the kids are loving it. And this goes back to something I remember George Lucas talking about when he did the prequel films, because you had the adults criticizing the prequel films, but the kids loved it. And that was kind of the thing when he did the original Star Wars films. It was a bunch of kids who fell in love with the Star Wars universe, and those kids grew to be adults, and they had nostalgia related to the original films. And so when they saw the prequels, they were like, that's not the same, and it's not as good. But yet the kids who grew up with the prequel trilogies have grown to love those more than the original ones because their nostalgia is associated with that. Much like those of us who watched the original film have a certain amount of nostalgia for the original film, which may or may not be jading some people who are coming in to watch the show. From my perspective, I was 100% satisfied with the new Willow show. I think it is a great young adult adventure. I'm really happy with it. I think it's got fun, quirky dialogue. I think it's great for the kids, it's great for the whole family, and it's proving to be a fun adventure. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the journey, especially watching these new characters unfold under the tutelage of Willow Ufgood, and who knows who else is going to join them along on that journey as we get deeper into it. We're meeting Louis, his old brownie friend. We know he's going to be showing up at some point because we've seen him in the trailers. So looking forward to seeing him come back into the show as well. Anyway, folks, hopefully you're enjoying Willow as much as I am. If you are, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit this bell icon here so that you get more updates as I continue to cover Willow and other shows on this channel. Support with a membership or a super thanks, or if you want to live stream super chats and stickers, don't forget the Patreon page. Ignore the mess behind me and the kitty cat here because it's chaos here today. See you next time, everybody. Stay safe.